Hello, friends. Are you ready to hear the rest of the tale? Then let us commence. If you recall last time we checked in with our scrappy little group of ragtags, they had just tried to spend another quiet night at the inn, resting and recovering while watching the room across the way where nothing happens except, well, something happened. Like, a whole lot of somethings. Long story short, two different crime factions had an extremely violent and extremely deadly confrontation that started in the room but erupted into the streets after destroying half of the inn. It was quite the scene, man. The heroes were able to deduce from the evidence at hand that some powerful magic was afoot, and that the victims, the Medusa, the Harpies, the dead bodies, hurled across the neighborhood by some strange cataclysm, were probably ringers, members of the House of the Unbroken Rings crime syndicate. Although the meeting between the Bugbear and the second group remained a curiosity. The second group as a whole remained a mystery to everyone, although it would have to wait as, with the explosions and commotion and the neighborhood in chaos, Harmonium patrols were inbound. Not thinking it prudent to be in the area of direct hardhead scrutiny, the exhausted companions made a hasty departure. Regrouping, they visited the gentle snare to check in with Figs and report about the seeming end of their observation job. Figs was definitely surprised, but didn't seem too bothered by it all, saying, "Well, my employers are definitely going to want to hear about this." He then handed over the 250 in gold he owed them for the job, and pointed them to a succubus employed at the snare who had a potential job for them. The succubus, Anat, presented a business proposition for the heroes. Looking to manufacture an incredibly unique and potent perfume, Anat needed an incredibly special ingredient, and she needed the heroes' help to secure it. The ingredient was a flower from a garden. Sounds easy enough, yeah? Well, turns out the garden was, well, the garden, and the flower was one only found in the hair of the Temptress. As in Eve, the Temptress. That one. As far as any of the heroes knew, the garden was a demi-plane only accessible somewhere in one of the hells, and how they could get there was anyone's guess. For their troubles, Anat was offering a one-time payment of 600 gold pieces, or a 10% stake in her business. Tell you what, I really like this for them. Maybe it's just me, but this sounds like a really exciting adventure opportunity. Something really different than your usual fare, you know? Honestly, sometimes you just get sick of that whole go slay the beast that's eating everyone and keeping their eternal souls in torment in its energy siphon grinder. The companions said they would think about it and managed to get a full rest in one of the snares rooms. By the next morning, they were fresh and ready to take on the day and their next job, and left their favorite tavern. I guess it was just me thinking that whole heist in the Garden of Eden job was a really fun-sounding one, huh? Okay. Meeting their contact, the gregarious Minotaur Bulg, at the Hobbit-run tavern Bits and Bobs, the heroes learned the details of their latest job. The job seemed simple enough. Travel to Plague Mort, the gate town to the Abyss in the Outlands, and retrieve a crate from the main warehouse at the airfield. Balg was even offering an extra 200 gold pieces as a show of trust and good faith. How the heroes got there was up to them, but Balg helped narrow down the different options. He'd opt for the widely used gate that was in the hive, in the square by Sister Cade's church on Shatterbone Street. Although Balg warned that the Harmonium had stationed details around all gates to the outland towns, especially any of those leading to gate towns bordering Plains of Chaos, Arborea, Ysgard, Limbo, Pandemonium and the Abyss, so that travel to Plague Mort might be under intense, and most unwanted, Harmonium scrutiny. Other options included 1. Take one of the many different airships that inevitably travel from Sigil to the various gate towns in the Outlands. 2. Use a teleportation circle if one, like the one at Varys' place of work, the Temple of Knowledge, was available. 3. Find another way. Or someone who knew of another way, say, like a certain wizard who had been dedicating her life and work to cataloguing and disseminating the locations of all known and not so known gates to the populace. Lysandra. I'm obviously talking about Lysandra the Gateseeker. Afterwards, Balg took the heroes to the nearby warehouse, a place that served as a headquarters/clubhouse/actual warehouse used by the House of the Unbroken Rings, to get them their money and, potentially, find some supplies. Here they met Harrison, the Ringers quartermaster, and, haunted Gelatinous Cube, and learned the story of how he became, whatever he was. and how he found himself employed by one of the city's most nefarious crime syndicates. They also met a flame-haired Medusa, Atia, who turned out to be the twin sister of the one who had died in the battle in the room, thus confirming that one faction in the conflict was the Ringers. The heroes parted ways with Bolg for now and headed out to start their latest job. Deciding to call in a favour, the companions headed to the Market Ward and to the Lost Dragon Inn. Here they found the wizard Lysandra, Gateseeker and ally. Without too much trouble, the forthright wizard offered an alternative to the gate in the hive, a not-so-well-known gate. In Rangers Green, a park in the lower ward. Bidding farewell, the companions left the inn, only to find themselves face-to-face with 4 unordinary and somewhat threatening individuals. With one of their number stepping forward and saying,
"I thought you were never going to come out of there. We really need to have ourselves a little talk."
The man who stepped up to represent these threatening-looking folk seemed quite their opposite. A well-dressed, unarmed, smooth talker, he approached with hands held wide in a non-combative gesture of peace. It didn't put anyone at ease. He explained that the visit was strictly business, and that the strangers represent a concerned third party who were interested in the crate our heroes were going to be picking up in Plague Mort. His employer was offering the companions a chance to either do the job for them, for which they would be compensated, or step aside and bow out completely. While he understood that, because of loyalty and/or professional reputation and/or they don't want to piss off a beholder crime boss, etc. and etc., the heroes would probably carry out their job for the Ringers. He explained that.
"This chat only happens once,"
he continued, suddenly becoming the most threatening of the 4 very threatening strangers.
"This is all part of something bigger. It's not just about money or power. You see, this city is often described as a chessboard. Strategy, pieces moving about, intrigue, thinking moves ahead. There's a storm coming that will blow those pieces away and wash the whole board into the gutter, and when it all settles, you will no longer recognize the game being played."
With that, as quickly as they appeared, the strangers moved off, disappearing into the city. And I'm so glad they did. That was a right bunch of nasty, that was. Conferring a bit afterward, the companions put together, through their observations, a few deductions about the strange group. 1. Varys noted that the other man in the group appeared to be an Air Genasi. 2. The younger woman was most likely a monk of some kind and, while appearing to be a human, may not be entirely so. 3. The warrior woman wore armor that indicated a less than noble background. Not demonic, but definitely something dark and potentially evil. 4. A sensing astrally, Braze noted that the face of the group could not be seen and was totally locked down from a psychic standpoint. 5. Through process of elimination, Drogon conjectured that this group of individuals were part of a new criminal syndicate that were known on the street as the Mage Mob. A rumoured crime cabal made up almost exclusively of the magically adept. Offering little in the way of comfort or certainty, the deductions and discussion did prove useful in letting the companions know that there were others vying for the crate, and that time was of the essence. With that in mind, they agreed that the quickest way to Plaguemore was to use the teleportation circle at Varys' place of work, the Temple of Knowledge. After dealing with some irritatingly pompous obstruction from work rival Meister Ingbert Terns, Varys managed to get use of the circle, and with that, the heroes were on their way to Plaguemore, city on the edge of the abyss, and to whatever unknown dangers and terrors were in store for them.